Hello, welcome back to our Bible study. I'm going to do this one in 5 minutes today. That is my commitment to you, so we better hurry. I know the last couple have been, 8 minutes or so, but we're going to do this one in 5 minutes. I wrote a shorter outline because I want to keep the time down as much as possible and respect the actual titles of these videos. Psalm 83 is the topic of study today, and our PDF is available on our website. There's a link down in the description. There's some other links down there, so check those out. Psalm 83 was once again written by Asaph, and we do not have any New Testament passages that refer back to Psalm 83 that I've discovered. Here are our themes for today. Israel's enemies are threatening them to destroy them and to take their land. Asaph, the psalmist, is calling out to the Lord for help, and he's recalling moments in Israel's history where God's great power has been on display, and he's doing that to bolster his faith that God will save them again. One definition today, the word chaff. We've seen this one before. It appears in verse 13. Chaff is the useless part of a harvested plant, the leaves or the other debris that surrounds the seed. The seed is kept, and then the chaff is thrown away or burned or disposed of in some way. Chapter 83 consists of 18 verses, which I have titled, The Enemy's Scheme, How Will God Respond? So Israel's enemies once again were scheming against them. They wanted to destroy the name of Israel from off the face of the earth so that no one would ever remember it in the future. There is a list of some of these enemies in the chapter, and I will read you the names. I have them listed, which might be more helpful on the outline. They included the Edomites, the Ishmaelites, the Moabites, the Hagrites, the Gebalites, the Ammonites, the Amalekites, Philistines, Asherites, and the people of Tyre. Interestingly, some of these nations, specifically the Moabites and the Ammonites, were actually relatives of Israel. They were descendants of Lot, who was Abraham's nephew. You can read about that in Genesis 19, 37 and 38. Asaph's prayer was that God would do to these enemies what he had done to Israel's enemies in their history. And some of the notable battles that God had won over the enemies of Israel are listed here in the chapter as well. Some of the notable enemies. These include victories over Midian. This you can read about in Numbers chapter 31. Jabin and Sisera, it's Judges 4. Endor, Oreb, and Zeb, Judges 7. And Zeba and Zalmunna, that's Judges 8. Asaph writes this in verses 13 through 15. "O my God, make them like whirling dust, like chaff before the wind, as fire consumes the forest, as the flame sets the mountains ablaze. So may you pursue them with your tempest and terrify them with your hurricane." So he asks God to shame them and to make them know that the Lord alone is, quote, the most high over all the earth. So that is a 5-minute, I hope, summary of Psalm 83. Now, let's talk about our application. Our application today is actually an anti-application. Now, cut me some slack. 50 chapters about God defeating the enemies of Israel. You got to get a little bit creative. This is an anti-application, and here it is. And you have to make the application from this. Since the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Philistines, the Egyptians, and other enemies of Israel that we read about in the Bible, like the Assyrians, the Babylonians, and the Romans, since they all ruined God's plans and none of God's plans ever came to fruition, we should be terrified every day when we turn on the news and we watch and see new advocates of evil rising up, threatening to do the same thing to God's people. So what's the application? It's an anti-application because that isn't true, right? God's plans always worked out, even though all these nations, as powerful as they were, world powers in their time, rose up to try to threaten God's people, to destroy them, to destroy God's plans. And you know what? Everything came out the way that God had originally planned it anyway, without any kind of road bumps or issues. God had it all 100% under control the whole time. And so the application is since God has been protecting and guiding and bringing about his will all of these years, when we turn on the news or there's some political turmoil or our nation is going through some struggle or we see some new evil being advocated for, we can be confident that this isn't going to derail this plan of God that has been working out for thousands and thousands of years now. Some puny, pipsqueak evildoer on earth in 2024, 2025, and beyond isn't going to be the one who topples what were the words of Asaph? The Most High over all the earth.